Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, and in this video we're covering Velidreth versus Kra'gh, the new two-piece set for stamina-based users. Let's get started and show you which one you should be using and why, but first, a brief introduction and what they do. The first set I'm going to show you and talk about is Velidreth. This is a two-piece set that you can get in Veteran, Cradle of Shadows, or Normal, right here that came out last patch. So what it does, if you read the tooltip, it is disease damage, not physical, has a one-piece weapon damage component, which is very nice, and it has 3 spores. So 3 spores means it can hit 3 targets. It's not just single target. Additionally, this effect has a 9-second cooldown, so a pretty long cooldown, but a whole lot of burst. So let's see this in action. And boom. So that thing hit for 23,000 on a crit, and I'm self-buff without weapon power potions. Velidreth, lots of burst, 9-second cooldown, and a really nice one-piece. What's next? Old shark-haired here called Kra'gh. The one-piece is utterly phenomenal. 1935 physical penetration. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to spawn Drew limbs that create shockwave in front of you, dealing physical, not disease damage, every second, 0.4 for 1.2 seconds with a 3-second cooldown. So what you can see the difference is this is a lot of sustained versus a lot of burst. The thing about this though is, which I'm going to show you, is the line in which these Daedric limbs attack is very small. So that's this weakness. Its strength is that it's constant and the one piece is phenomenal. So let's see it in action. So as you can see, it's almost constantly up, but the window in which it can hit, the radius is very small, though it is a nice steady pulse of damage. So we're going to test this in 2 different contexts. I'm going to give you my thoughts about it in terms of PvE and PvP. 1, a stationary single target fight. 2, a minute or so long AoE fight to see what really shakes out. So we'll start with Velidreth here first, and for this build I'll be using Vicious Ophidian 5-piece, 2 Night Mother's Gaze on my front bar, and then Maelstrom on my back bar. This is the Harvester build, and I will link it in the video description if you want more information. So, Velidreth here doesn't do that well in single target fights. Why? Because there is no movement, the mob is stationary, and it has a longer cooldown, so you're not going to see the power of this set until we get to AoE or heavy mechanic-based fights. So single target with a pretty easy rotation, we pulled 31,000 single target DPS, self-buffed. The only buff that was provided by the tank was Pierced Armor, the armor debuff. Otherwise I was using my ults, no Warhorn, no spell power cure, nothing like that. So as you can see here, what we're looking for is Velidreth. About my 7th damage producing ability, and it's 6.3 or 1900 damage a second. Now that's somewhat decent in a single target fight, and you also have to factor in the one piece adding some weapon damage, which is really nice for a Templar considering that we get benefit from our class specific skill line. Though, not that impressive in a single target fight. Let's move on to Kra'gh. Now it's the old Sharkhead's turn, and you can really see the 2-piece shine in single target fights, where there's no movement speed. Why? Because you're always getting the proc, you're always hitting something. But you're going to see a lot of damage loss in an AoE specific fight, or something where you have to have a lot of movement. But here, where the mob's stationary, there's 0 mechanics, there's 0 running out, Kra'gh is freaking awesome. So let's see what DPS we get. You can see Kra'gh moves up all the way to the 4th slot here on damage, producing 8.4% of my damage, 2,600, a significant damage increase. Not to mention the one piece is worth about 3% overall damage increase as well. Really fantastic for stationary single target fights. However, let's check out an AoE parse and give some context to what you normally see in trash bowls. Now it's Velidreth's turn to shine. So what the nice thing about this is obviously they can hit 3 little balls. But the thing about it is it travels slowly, and a lot of times you're going to find boss fights, there's going to be a lot of movement, and those balls can and will hit not only your single target boss, but any of the trash mobs as well, and it provides a lot of burst. The nice thing about this in some contexts like Veteran Maelstrom Arena is that the cooldown of 9 seconds doesn't really matter that much once you're waiting on portals to respawn, so you get that upfront burst that you need in a lot of instances to really clear content. I'm telling you right now, Velidreth for VMA is a must-have. So over a simple AoE fight, Velidreth pulls 11% of our DPS over 5,000, which is really nice for a 2-piece in AoE. An added benefit of this is that it's a cone, so you have 2 sharp angles and one always in front of you. Meaning if you are spinning out of something, you're likely to still hit something with Velidreth, making it a worthwhile 2-piece. Now we get the steady but not bursty Kra'ghs in here, and it does pretty good because I'm trying my best to face my body towards the targets, but it's just not as good as Velidreth. It doesn't provide the burst that you like up front when the mobs respawn, especially in VMA, and the thing is, it doesn't hit every single mob because it's just that really small radius in front of you. So in summary, Kra'ghs really good for sustained overtime DPS, and the 1-piece is phenomenal. But you're really going to see a downside with AoE heavy fights and a lot of mechanic based fights where melee isn't that useful. So you can see here Kra'gh drops all the way down, and Blade Cloak actually outperforms it as a 2-piece. So that's a little bit disappointing. So it almost got the same percentage DPS that it did single target in a massive AoE fight over 1 minute and 30 seconds. So Kra'ghs, disappointing AoE, great stationary DPS. So final thoughts here on Kra'ghs versus Velidreth. In PvE, Dungeons, Solo, Trials, VMA, I really like Velidreth better. Reason why, very rarely are you going to have a stationary single target fight where you can just sit there and not move out of red or do mechanics where you have to run. Maybe like Kra'gh at the very end of Vetma or Sanctum Ophidia Manticore, which is great. But almost the rest of the fights are going to be AoE specific, and the burst is really nice. So Kra'gh has a great 1-piece and a steady stream of DPS. Number 2, PvP. I think Velidreth is better there as well. Why? Because it's bursty. You want that damage up front, and the proc chance is a little bit higher with 20%. So you're most likely to get that damage up front when you need it to kill that specific player, and AoE. Kra'ghs, on the other hand, I think 1-piece is staggeringly powerful. If we compare it to a Night Mother's Gaze, which is an entire 5-piece at 2,500, this thing maxed out at gold is 1,900. I mean, that is a hugely powerful 1-piece. I think the optimal way to use this if you didn't want to use an Undaunted piece in PvP is 1 physical penetration shoulder or helm and 1 weapon damage shoulder or helm. You're going to see a lot of benefit from that. Otherwise, I don't think Kra'ghs would be that useful in PvP. Great sets. Both of them are really useful. These are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and let me know. Am I wrong? Am I right? Have you guys tried it out? And hopefully this gives you some help in determining what to farm when One Tamriel launches. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, share, and let me know. Did you like this Best in Slot series? So Control F, Templar. Adric Spear, fixed an issue. Okay. Fixed an issue. Cleansing Ritual, fixed an issue. They didn't nerf Templars. Max, what do you think about this? Max, can you believe it? They're not going to nerf Templars.